Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Mariusz studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello,
Welcome,
David.
Everyone, to episode 336. This is part 2 of our work with Mariusz, and we really hope you enjoy it. And we're so grateful to Mariusz for sharing his personal inner life with us and giving us, teaching us a little bit about how to defeat perfectionism. And he'll be joining us at the end of the session with some live follow-up on what's happened since the session and how he's feeling now. So we hope you enjoy the podcast.
And Mariusz, how are you feeling right now?
So actually, when
in this moment,
something
talking about
really,
this,
this is when David said that something important is missing in my life, that really put a significant shift in the whole thing, and so yeah, so yeah, I at those difficult times, I really feel sorry for that little kid. So.
Why was he so lonely?
Oh, so I was the only child. That was one thing. Both of my parents were physicians, and they worked really hard to provide, So yeah. And there were some experiences that were quite traumatic for me at that time too. So.
Did you get that last piece, Rhonda?
he had some traumatic experiences during that time as well.
Oh. Are those some things you want to talk about a little bit?
I wouldn't like to talk about
it. So, is that a signal that this is a must?
No, I wouldn't like to talk about it. No.
So then David asked you, is that a signal that it's something that we must talk about?
Yeah, maybe in a different context. I
sure.
Try to talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we don't need to go there right now, but it might be something worth doing. Some people, have different ideas about what should and shouldn't be done, but I just like to go with the flow, and so much appreciate your being here
and your candor, Mariusz.
Yeah. But I'm sorry.
I learned something to say no.
Yeah, that's
good
right.
Job.
Yeah, that's good. You're moving forward.
But there was something that David said when he was talking about your sense of loneliness and sadness. Well, the sadness, that something very important is missing from your life, and you're mourning that. And so with that dialogue between you and David and that insight you developed, what are you feeling right now?
So that was sadness, actually.
So you're feeling sadness right now?
Yeah. So sadness is a primary. So I didn't feel very sad at the beginning, but that is definitely a sad situation. Realizing that something is important is missing in your life, right? And yes, so yeah. And objectively, I have really accomplished life. I have really great family. Of course, recognition at work and whatever. But I think what is missing is really life. That, being too busy, right? I think.
So being too busy, you're not able to experience life as much as you want?
Yeah. So, of course, it is not as tragic. I mean, we went skiing with my wife, so it's not, and we are going to do again next month for.
Mariusz, do you know what? Can you just point out something that happened just now? And I wonder if this is,
I'm
you had
distracting
this lovely...
myself.
Right. I mean, you had this really emotional reaction and a big insight that what's missing is life. And then I'm saying this with love in my heart. I love you, Mariusz, and have great thoughts and admiration for you.
Thank you.
Then after you came up with that insight that what is missing is life, you kind of minimized it and you distracted from it, and you were not able to fully sit there with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That is also my pattern. I need to turn it into a joke or something. Yep.
Mm. Well, jokes are a lot easier than crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that life is missing, and I would like to put more life into my life. So.
Yeah.
I think I was a little, maybe kind of lonely growing up too. Thinking back for a variety of reasons. I don't know if I had any, traumas like what you've referred to that you experienced, but like yourself, I was very polite and very hardworking. I had this one friend. I had several. Well, we're not here to analyze David, but I think I had kind of a little bit of a lonely time too, and let me ask you a question here, Mariusz. Maybe this is not the direction to go in, but let me ask again. What would you want here at the end of today? Would you want to be toning down some of these negative feelings and
so
maybe keeping the sadness elevated?
So actually, I think that this is not about me missing that homework for this patient. Maybe it is so. That is just a superficial thing, and I think that we got to the problem is that indeed I'm not deeply satisfied with my life.
Yeah.
And being busy is really distracting me from that.
Yeah.
And putting back what is missing, maybe that would be the miracle cure.
Sure.
Gosh, Mariusz, when you said that, I mean, literally, it brought tears to my eyes.
I was close to tears myself too.
Yeah.
Right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I too feel so warm and close to you, Mariusz.
I feel close to both very much. So so I think that is some miracle cure would be realization. So first, to put some more life in my life, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of hate to say this, but it seems like you've already figured out how to do that.
Yeah. So listen to my son, who tells me to sleep plenty, take time to rest and not just to work and to read books. Actually, we've been reading books now together. Some, reading the same books at the same time. So yeah, so that is. But then fear comes. Fear that, and I think that the fear. I mean, you see, I did this daily mood log, but with you, I'm uncovering different layers. Fear, that was a little bit reflected in the daily mood log. That fear, if I slow down, I will not be able to pay my bills. Right?
Okay, could you write that down?
Yes, I'm writing down.
Mariusz, how much do you believe that? If I slow down, I won't be able to pay my bills.
How much?
How much I believe that? Like close to 195%, maybe. But a lot of my business is also with things that have nothing to do with paying my bills, right? So there's brilliant things that feel like the right thing to do. So yeah. And when we were talking this, we went when you did download error with me, that and then I will lose respect of my family. So
that's your second fear. I'll lose respect for my family.
Yeah. So if I won't be able to.
That's really scary and sad.
So materialistic.
Well, I mean, I don't want to stereotype men, but I'm about to. I mean, men are kind of raised to take care of their family, to have a career, to, carry the weight of the world on their shoulders in a way. And even if we fight that and we're, in our belief systems, a feminist perspective that men and women are equal, and I'm wondering how much you still carry that, like sort of stereotypical, it's my role, or I'll lose respect for my family.
Then it is not only that. My wife is also a physician, a psychiatrist, and team CBT, right? Trained by Maltby too. So she's pulling the less I make, that is more burden on her. So I think that there is a legitimate concern that if I just focus on things that bring money, that would be easier, right? So I think that was, but it is also being burden, that is on Aleksandra. That is the fear of being a burden.
Yeah, I'll be a burden. You can write that down. I would have a suggestion for a direction we could go in here. I like to stick with the basics, and because you've still got these distorted thoughts, and perhaps we could see what emotions you'd like to aim for and blow these thoughts out of the water, and then make some kind of plan involving exposure for confronting your fear and opening up to people, telling them about your fears, your daughter, your wife, because you've been open with us. And to me, I don't know if to you, but to be with you with these tender moments, this is maybe the thing that's been missing in your life, and so one thing would be to be opening up to people and sharing this with them, and then you might also have to use some exposure and cut down on a couple things that may put you in the overwhelmed position time-wise, and can confront that that fear. There's probably a lot of things you're doing out of the goodness of your heart, and that you could be saying no more. I know. For me, I've said this before, and it probably just sounds so dopey, but I've just been helped so much by our cats. We adopt these abandoned cats, and we have one now, Sweetie Pie, and my wife has sometimes said maybe it would be enough for a life just to dedicate your life to making one cat happy. Mm-hmm. And we have this cat that we adopted at the pound 2 years ago because her owner died. She was 6 or 7, and she had a rough first year because we had another cat here who was very jealous and kept wanting to attack her. So we finally gave our other cat away to someone in our group, Esther, who's beautifully adopted her, and we felt really sad. I mean, that was another abandoned cat that we had that totally loved us, and we totally loved her, but she was just so aggressive with the new one. And now Sweetie Pie is just like the queen of the house, and she follows my wife around and just wants to sit in my wife's lap and be petted and adored. And I bought a thing for her on Amazon, this infinite lounger for cats. And when it came to the door in a box, and I said, "Sweetie, I have something for you," and I opened it, she knew it was something I was giving her. And now she's so proud to be on that lounger, and she jumps up on it every time I walk past. And that's the signal, "Daddy, come down and pet me. I want your petsies," and things like that, and just sharing these tender feelings, and including, my feelings of failure and inadequacy and shame that I feel sometimes, and it seems to be a way of really getting the chance to enjoy, like Rhonda and the people that I'm working with the app with, and to really, I don't know if we'll have any success with it. It's really a hard thing that we're trying to do, and we don't have any money raised yet, and it's I don't know what's going to happen really, but it's just nice to hang out with them and to work with them every day and to feel close to them. And as you say, it's kind of hard to say no sometimes, but that would be, I mean, that would be my formula for what we might do here.
Yeah, I can very relate to your cat story. We have now an old cat. She's 17, maybe, because we adopted her, so we don't know. All of our cats were adopted, but she outlived all our other pets.
Oh, yeah.
And our 3 other cats used to attack her. So she was very, very, withdrawn and whatever. And now she's the princess, empress, actually.
Yeah.
So, and yes, I bought her a scratching post. And whenever she sees me passing by, she always scratches on that, looks at me and wants me to scratch her back. So, so I can totally relate to the story that you gave. So, yeah. You have some clairvoyant capabilities. It looks like.
Yeah, that is true. David has clairvoyant capabilities. I've experienced that lots of times.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go through here and just see on your daily mood log the goals at the end of our session. How sad would you want to feel? That's 80. Maybe we could bring it down a little bit. Keep it up.
20%. I don't like sadness.
You want to go that far down?
Yeah.
Okay. How anxious do you want to be?
You know what? Let's keep up the sadness a little bit. I need to.
Yeah, I mean, your sadness really showed you something so important.
Yeah, exactly. I went back to my positive reframe, and I think I need to work on getting things into my life first before wanting to have less sadness. So let's keep it at 40.
40, yeah, that's a beautiful number there for sadness. How anxious? That was 100. What?
I don't need that much anxiety. I usually don't have that much anxiety. Let's have it at At 42.
A 40? You want to be 40 on anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, it really keeps you alert, you said, and motivated, and makes you more careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to be that high, carrying 40% anxiety. Okay, we'll give you a 40 there as your goal. How guilty and ashamed do you want to feel?
I hate those, particularly shame. It's painful. Really, I would love to be free of that.
So you want to go down to 0?
Maybe 20%, just to keep me humble.
20%, okay, yeah. And how inferior do you want to feel? Incompetent and inadequate.
Let's keep it. Let's keep it at 30.
30, okay. It was. I think it was 9. I have to put my glasses on. 80.
90. It was 90.
Bring it down to 30. Okay, sure. And then, how lonely do you want to feel?
I think I will keep the loneliness. Still some fire on it. So 30.
30, great. And then, how about your embarrassment? And that was 70. What's a good embarrassment?
Embarrassed. Let's be 20.
20, great. And how hopeless do you want to feel?
That I want to feel. I think 20.
20, good. Yeah, we're getting down there now. How frustrated and stuck do you want to feel? That was 85.
I would like this to be really at 0.
0, great. And how angry do you want to feel?
I don't like being angry. 0.
0, okay.
But it keeps. I think that anger may help me put some limits. Oh
yeah, right.
And I keep boundaries. So 30.
30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
30.
Right. Now, you thought we were kidding about that institute, didn't you? Okay. No. I see what you mean there.
It's very tempting, man.
Yeah.
Particularly if you offer no pain. I'm tempted.
Okay. Now, you had written down before you came in 10 thoughts, and then you've had at least 4 or 5 more thoughts that we've written down while we've been talking. And these are all really excellent thoughts. Could you select one that we could focus on first?
And including the ones we just added.
Yeah, I think that was the more important that we added, and because it really, those that I put on the daily mood log, I identify distortions and I could come up with healthier ones. But I think if I slow down, I am in this. What we wrote down, I think I realized that I'm in the vice that I put myself in. On one hand, I don't want to slow down because I'm going to lose respect of my family. On the other hand, I'm not allowing myself time to be fully with them and opening myself to them. So I don't know if you get me right now, that on one hand, I'm busy to not to be burdened, but on the other hand, I'm making myself unavailable to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be close to my family, but at the same time, I'm doing things opposite to be close.
Mm-hmm.
So that is it.
So Mariusz, am I getting you right? You're busy to earn your family's respect and for income, which supports them, but being that busy makes you unavailable and prevents the closeness that you yearn for.
Exactly.
So do you want to start with that thought?
Yes.
And then what are the distortions in it? If I slow down, I won't be able to pay my bills.
So that is all or nothing thinking, right? So
sure. All or nothing.
So definitely. Also,
tell us why it's all or nothing thinking.
Because, if I've slowed down, then I'm going to lose everything, right? So this is exaggeration. I may lose something, but not everything, right? And plus, I may slow down in the areas that are not as economical, let's say.
Yeah, cool.
So there's also overgeneralization because that is not like always I'm doing that. You know, that if I would let me. I think also seeing. I mean, I think my family would love me even if I became destitute.
Yeah.
And it is unlikely because they are, they are going to be, they have good education, so they will be able to eventually maybe get me out of the homeless shelter from time to time.
Sure. That's good. So let's. Do you want to try jump into some externalization of voices really quick?
Definitely.
Yeah. What's your name?
Mariusz.
What's my name?
Mariusz.
And what's Rhonda's name?
Mariusz.
That's right. And we'll be the negative one and see if you can defeat us on some of these thoughts. Could I talk to you for a minute, Mariusz?
Yes, please.
I know that Rhonda and David have been trying to trick you into, giving up all of this hard work that you've been doing and selling you on some ridiculous view of reality that you can just hang around with your cats all day and be close to everyone and be happy. But it's just a fact that if you allow yourself to slow down, you won't be able to pay your bills. Face it.
You know what, David?
No, my name is Mariusz.
I'm sorry. Mariusz. Mariusz, you've been saying a lot of stupid stuff, and I think it is one of the stupid, but I sometimes believe in it. So, but I'm done with believing in it, right? I'm done. I'm not going to believe it. No.
Right. Who won?
I won, I think, but not huge.
Not huge. Okay, do a role reversal.
You know what, Mariusz? If you slow down, you are going to definitely not just lose your income, but also respect of your family. You are your coworkers, and also, come on, you like doing that stuff, so you are also going to lose a lot of joy. So I don't think that you should be slowing down. Yeah.
Well, you hit me with so much horseshit all at once. I don't know quite where to start shoveling it. You said that you would lose the respect of your family and coworkers if you decide to slow down a bit. Is there some evidence for that? Like, would you lose David's respect or Rhonda's respect? What?
Maybe Rhonda's. I don't think David's, but Rhonda's.
Yeah, Rhonda's a real slave driver. Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so who won there?
I think you won a little bit, but I think I have an idea to win.
Okay, good. Tell us your idea.
So my idea is some acceptance first. Yes, in fact, if I slow down, yes, my income may decrease. I may also slow down in the areas that are not related to income, and then and actually I may be a good role model for my kids who slowly are, at least two of them may be turning into workaholics. So yeah, I think actually slowing down may be a good thing for me to do, regardless of income or not. And they love me and respect me regardless of how much money I make. And that is really simplifying things by saying, hey, it's only because of that. And plus, my last, middle daughter is graduating in May, and they won't need me to support them anymore, but to be for them as a human being, and not. And that was the time to really enjoy that phase in life. So yeah, no. So So yeah,
that was beautiful. Who won?
I won.
Big or small?
Huge.
Yeah, and how did you get to huge there?
I got to huge by combining all these things. So one thing I really like, and it encourages you, but you said, talk back to me, but then it hit me that really acceptance is the way, and then when we accept some truth in the negative thought, that gives us more power, really, because we can rephrase it. Because if we only fight it, it's like pushing a beach ball into underwater, right?
Yeah, right.
But when you accept some truth in it, then you may discover a different way of looking at it, and I think that is a brilliant approach. But not agreeing 100% with it, but really seeing
to find the truth in it, combined with some self-defense, then you hit a home run. And if you're just fighting with it, you just get involved in a long battle you can't win.
David, I'm wondering, even though Mariusz, you hit that out of the park, I'm wondering if it might be interesting to do a feared fantasy about that, or maybe you feel like you've done enough.
Okay, let's do it. I agreed to do this. Part of it was having the shame attacking exercise, and also exposure. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Fear.
Is that okay with you, David?
Yeah, I had the same thought. I'd love to get to some of these other negative thoughts too, but we can jump right up to that level. And from a teaching point for our listeners, we've just attacked 3 of the negative thoughts, and Mariusz has blown them out of the water using externalization of voices, talking back with some acceptance and some self-defense. And you're really saying that, it's not true that you're going to end up in a homeless colony. I often tell my colleagues, you might find me living behind the Draeger's grocery store there. and at least I'll have my computer. I can still do emails. But then the thing is, well, what if your worst fear came true? And and that won't happen in reality, because if you tell your family, they'll probably tell you they love you more. But what if a colleague or a family member did say, I'm losing respect for you because you're slowing down and you're not paying the bills as well as before? Would that be something you'd have to be afraid of? And the only way to find out is to bring that to life with a feared fantasy role play. And so Rhonda and I can be the monsters from this feared fantasy world. And in this world, if you think people are judging you and having negative thoughts about you, they really are. And the second rule is they get right up in your face and they say these awful things to you that most people would think but never say. So give us a couple of things that you're afraid that your family or colleagues might be thinking about you if you start saying no to certain requests, and if you start to slow down.
That I'm unreliable, flaky.
That you're unreliable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That they will not include me in other valuable projects.
Yeah, we won't include you in our Los Angeles Institute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We won't include you. What else would we say? We don't like you anymore?
Oh, like we hate you.
Yeah, we hate you now. Yeah, there we go.
So we reject you too?
Yeah, we reject me entirely, and
we don't want to hang out with you.
Everybody else, about.
We're going to tell everyone else about you.
Yeah, the bushfire fallacy, right?
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
And of course, I'm going to end up homeless.
Oh yeah.
No, actually, that crossed my mind. I'm not joking here.
You'll end up homeless, and and we'll be eating in the fancy restaurant right across the street from your homeless colony. and partying, and we'll look in your direction and sneer from time to time. Are you ready?
Actually, yes, I'm ready.
Okay, could I talk to you for a minute, Mariusz?
Yes, sure.
I've heard through the grapevine that you're slowing down quite a bit. Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
Well, I think you're unreliable then.
Definitely, I will not be involving myself with as many projects as I was used to. And yes, it is a fact that I messed up on some projects, did not complete them, and others counted on it. You're right.
So who won that exchange?
I think I won.
Big or small?
Pretty big.
Big or huge?
I don't know if huge, but it's close to huge.
Okay, we'll do a role reversal, see if we get to huge, and then we'll let Rhonda take the second round.
So, Mariusz, I hear that you are quite unreliable, that you are...
Oh, absolutely. I've been taking unreliability training from David Burns. And I'm loving every minute of it. Are you still on the reliable path, big guy?
That was very, you won huge.
So who won?
You won huge.
Yeah. And again, how did I win huge? You
simply took this thought to absurd, like Albert Ellis used to do. So
yeah. Yep. Okay, and I'll do a role reversal back, because you always want the patient to win in the so-called victim, or actually winner role. But so let's see if you can do it. You know, Mariusz, I've heard that you're slowing down, and from my point of view, you're just getting very unreliable.
Oh, so thank you very much for letting me know. So that shows now that I'm taking this unreliability course from David Burns, and I'm succeeding. So I'm very proud of myself for doing that. And actually, I don't want to be considered as reliable and the first to go to when there is a project to do. No, I agree. I'm unreliable, so don't count me in.
Okay, who won?
I think I won.
Big or small?
Huge. That was
huge. Great. Yeah, nice. Now it's your turn, Rhonda.
Mariusz, wow, I have the best idea for this really, really fun special project. Oh my God, it's going to be such a huge impact on so many people. It's so fun and it's really special. And
is this the one where we're going to organize Africa?
Yes.
Around the team model, all the countries in Africa?
Yes. We're doing Africa, we're doing Poland, we're doing Ukraine, we're doing every country in the Eastern European border. We're having such a huge impact. But I've heard that you're kind of unreliable and you won't want to be involved. Or would you? We would really like you to be involved. Actually, we want you to head it up and take a really major role in it.
You'll be the emperor. You and Trump, you'll be the emperors of the world together.
You could solve so many people's depression and anxiety problems.
Okay. And then, so actually, I'm giving a lecture for South Africa next week.
Well, of course.
Well, keep it up, or if you don't keep that up, we will hate you.
Yeah, we reject you if you don't keep that up.
So actually, you know what? That is very flattering that you thought of me to be involved, and yes, and other times I would say yes, and it's very not just flattering but tempting. But I am on this new path right now. I'm taking this course from David Burns of unreliability. So if you want someone unreliable to be involved, I may head your project. But it's going to be to its peril. So no. The answer is no.
Okay, I think you're knocking it out of the park.
David, shall we go back to the daily mood log and hit?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to your daily mood log. And which of those thoughts, you had 10 of them, choose one that we can nail you with.
I think the problems in my relationship are my fault.
Okay. You know, Mariusz, the problems in your relationship with Aleksandra are your fault.
I think I contribute to the majority of them, definitely. And yes, and I think that the best way of approaching it would be to do less and be more available, and so no, it is. So I think that yes, it is true that majority, maybe not 100%, but majority of the conflicts are about my work habits, my lack of availability, my overcommitting myself. So that is true. But since I'm on this course from David Burns. I don't know, you know him, brilliant guy. Unreliability course. I think that I will be able to shed a lot of those responsibilities soon. And in fact, then if I do that, then all the problems, if they would be, and it would be Aleksandra's fault.
So how did you do?
Great work, Mariusz.
So I think I did well because I accepted this, and on one hand, I own this, and the reality is, if I really apply it, you know, of course we will come up with new problems, but yeah, the majority of the problems will be resolved.
You're doing great. Let me hit you with one more of these, and then maybe we need some kind of plan moving forward that you could then have some homework and report back to Rhonda and me, you know, through some email or something of the nature. Mm-hmm. Let's just take the first one, if you don't mind. You should have sent that patient her homework. You shouldn't have made such a basic therapy error.
So actually, from the principle of cause and effect, I should have done it because I was in a hurry. So yes, idealistically, absolutistically, you know, that would be great, but the world does not follow ideals. It follows cause and effect principle. But because I was in a hurry, I was busy and overworked. Simply got busy with other things and couldn't think about it. So I should have done it. I should have missed that homework. So for me not to miss the homework, I need to give myself space, not run from an individual session into a group, and to, you know, maybe give myself space to assign homework without hurry, and send the email within the session, not after the session.
That's a nice response. I have a suggestion for an additional dimension to add to that. Mm-hmm. What is this patient's problem that she's working on? You don't need to give information that would reveal an identity or something, but
anxiety.
And then what is she anxious about?
Fear of dying, really. So
fear of what?
Of dying.
Oh, fear of dying. I see.
Pain. Yes.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm wondering when you say, you know, in a kind of great Albert Ellis thing that I should have made that mistake. I'm human. I've overwhelmed, and you know and that's a good powerful and correct response. But I'm wondering. I get a lot of fan email, and Rhonda does too. And then every now and then, fortunately, it's not very often, but get some kind of hostile criticism. And what irks me is when people criticize me on something that is the opposite of what I'm really stand for. And or they've taken something and twisted it into a kind of a negative perception, like they think the gentle ultimatum means my way or the highway. It's the same that Josh, your son, thought. Rhonda, I got an email from someone about that, and it was a shocker because she'd been sending me all this admiring email, and she sent me this email just ripping me to shreds, and I was just trying to think about how to get back to her, and I was pretty mad, and and then I felt attacked and frustrated, and a whole bunch of feelings. But when I wrote back to her, I told her that I was kind of shocked and set back because I think a lot of these questions that you raised are, kind of unfair and really aren't based on a good understanding of what I've been teaching at all. But I also wanted you to know that I thought about it pretty seriously because I know you're a smart lady and and I admire your critical thinking. But I also want you to know that I felt feeling angry and also kind of ashamed, and I just wanted to let you know that this was kind of a hard email to respond to. So something like along those lines. I did not put her down at all, but I want her to see that I was struggling and ashamed and feeling kind of inadequate. And I didn't know what would happen. And she shot me back the most beautiful email within minutes. It was mind-blowing. And and she'd been complaining in all of her emails about how insensitive psychiatrists are and they're so narcissistic. And she was even saying I was narcissistic, which of course I own up to quite a bit. But she was pounding that into me. And I think just by showing her that I was struggling, I think she suddenly felt really, really close to me. And it was such a beautiful exchange. And I'm wondering if you could start using your perfectionism to maybe let this patient know how much you suffered because of that error, that you were ashamed and sad because you think so highly of her and you feel you let her down, and that you wanted to share that with her and to let her know that you have high respect for her and are so proud of her for the great work she's doing in therapy or something like that. And
yes, and actually, yeah, I wrote an email to her showing the paradox of me requiring homework and not doing my homework. So
right. But did you tell her that you felt ashamed?
I haven't seen her since yet. And I didn't hear back.
Yeah, sure.
So sure. Definitely, I can check what I told her exactly.
But I think to go from the intellectual understanding to the meaning of life that you're looking for would be to use these negative feelings. You said that you wanted to feel, 20% ashamed and 40% anxious. And I mean, one of the beautiful things about these feelings is to share them, with your daughter, just to say, sometimes I feel so fearful and I work too hard and I'm afraid, I love you so much and I want to have a beautiful wedding. And if I were to slow down, I'm wondering, would you think less of me? And in other words, to start sharing your feelings. And the reason I'm saying that is to give you something positive that you can be doing in the next week, because I know, for me, what has helped me so much when I'm working with audiences or teaching is to share my vulnerabilities, which is hard for me because I often feel ashamed if I screw up or make a mistake. And I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but it seems to me all of these negative feelings that are so elevated are something you could view as pure gold.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And one of the reasons I so agreed, I accepted gladly this invitation because of your being such a role model, both of you. And recently Jill Levitt being a role model publicly, actually,
yeah.
Yeah.
Externalization of Voices made a mistake, and says if such people as you make mistakes and own up and and just address it right away on there. And as you said, that making mistakes is not a problem. It is missing the boat and not noticing it. That is a problem. So I definitely agree with you.
And beating yourself up for it.
Yeah, and beating yourself up for it. So yeah, so that is, and I'm trying to model it to my trainees too. So yeah. Absolutely.
David, I'm wondering if you're on the thinking about homework for Mariusz now.
Yeah, that maybe to share your feelings with this patient, with your wife, with your daughter, with your colleagues, the way you have with Rhonda and David, and then report back to us. You say share your feelings with 5 people just to make it a concrete, specific homework assignment. And then email us and tell us what happens, and maybe we can append it to the show notes. It's a kind of a vague assignment, but that's what I think would be helpful.
Yes, that is great exposure.
Yeah,
everything. It has everything in it, because in order for me to do this, I need to change my thinking. So, absolutely, yeah, perfect assignment.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So let's see right now. Is that okay, Rhonda?
I think we're on the same path.
Yeah,
exactly.
Great. Yeah, I think we've been kind of throughout the session, to be honest with you. Let's just see how you're feeling right now. How sad are you feeling right at this moment?
Actually, I don't feel sad at all.
0?
I mean, actually, everything went to 0 on the first
column.
Yeah,
all the feelings.
Actually, I'm quite motivated to do the homework, and
yeah.
So your goal is to be 40, but you're at 0.
Yeah.
And he says on all of them went to 0.
But I know I can always call David so he can help my sadness go up or whatever else.
Yeah.
Definitely, but my anxiety is 0. I mean, I don't feel any tense. I mean, I was, actually, I'm quite relieved.
Yeah, tremendous. What would you say then were the healing dimensions? Because we did many things. We did measurement, then we did empathy, then we did agenda setting with the positive reframing, and then we did externalization of voices with a couple of kind of thoughts. We did acceptance paradox combined with self-defense. You did a lot of self-disclosure. What as you think back, what were the?
I think the turning point. I think during of course I think the magic starts to happen. Magic is all the time, but magic starts to happen with positive reframe. And then when we got, like, I was quite formulaic when approaching my own sadness, realistic, self-critical, having insight. But you hit it on this when you say the sense of loss, that something important is missing in my life. That was like a turning point, I think. And then that helped me to formulate the beliefs that were behind that feeling and the thoughts that were behind that feeling. And then and then externalization of voices and feared fantasy were, they're great. So, so yeah, I mean, it was like uncovering different layers. So beyond just the daily mood log that we did, that I submitted before the session.
Yeah, just hanging out with people and being yourself. I mean, it sounds so corny to say it, but that we spend our life trying to be special, trying to be good enough, and then the thing is that I value is just hanging out with people in a kind of ordinary way. And all those frantic efforts to be special, to achieve. There's nothing wrong with wanting to work on something that excites you, and to be productive, to be creative. That's a great thing, but it's also a great thing to there's just so many beautiful ways, simple ways to find joy. I don't know. Maybe you can say it better. I'm just babbling in a stupid elderly manner right now, Rhonda or Mariusz. What would you say?
I would say what I say to my patients, and actually is in the workbook for my class that I have for cancer patients and their families. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious, so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic. As if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. It is from Alan Watts.
Yeah, that's Alan Watts. He said that. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
So I need to glue it to my mirror or to my forehead or something.
yeah, that's right. And then how about an assignment to say no to some things, cut back on something, and say no to requests?
No, David, I won't do it.
Okay, great. That's A+ already. Well, thank you so much. It was just a pleasure hanging out with you. And after we're done, if you can fill out the end of the brief mood survey and the evaluation of therapy session, and then we look forward to your feedback on your homework.
I will do that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we'll also practice saying no.
And as we say goodbye, I just want to remind people again that if they're interested in attending the Team CBT Warsaw Intensive, March 30th to April 2nd, that they could go to the website, which is teamcbt.eu or teamcbt.pl.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you and working with you, David. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, have a good one, guys, ladies,
Bye-bye.
people.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, David, and hi, Mariusz. We've just concluded the personal work that we did with you, Mariusz, and wanted to invite you back to come and talk to us about your the homework that you did and the impact that the work that David and I did with you had on your life. So tell us how you've been.
Hello, David, and hello, Rhonda. So I've been doing quite well. I mean, I've been doing very well. Let's start with that. But at the same time, I've been also experiencing more emotions. And
more emotion?
Yeah, definitely. And
wow, that's great.
And wider range of emotions. So, for example, so as you know, I was quite good at generating different unhealthy, negative thoughts that I had, and self-defeating beliefs, identifying them, and we came up like with 14, and later when I did work by myself, I found even 10 more. So, and these, some of them were really revealing how because I know self-defeating beliefs, and intellectually I was able to really dismiss them, but the part of your assignment was to communicate with Aleksandra about that, and there is something when you start talking to another person about these things, and the person is offering you empathy, even though I've been in the psychotherapy business for 35 years, it's still amazed at how important the offering empathy is, and how that opens the person up. And this here, it was me. So yeah, so that was, I was sometimes close to tears, and sometimes, and particularly one time I was quite bawling, really profusely moved.
You said that when you've been focusing a lot on negative thoughts and self-defeating beliefs, but that when someone offers empathy, compassion, understanding, like an interest in you, it's amazingly important and opens the person up. And I so strongly agree with you that the world changes when we cry and when we laugh. And tell us a little bit more about that.
So part of my perfectionism is doing things fast and effectively, right? And I'm really getting frustrated with myself, and it is late in the evening, and I'm still doing notes from the hospital, and it was last week, Wednesday, I think, that I became really very sad during that. Normally, I would simply dismiss it. But I called Aleksandra to come to me. And my wife, Aleksandra. And she came, and she offered me empathy. What was it? And really, the origin of me doing notes from home, not in the hospital, came to light that I did not realize before. It was during the pandemic that it was that I worked 16, 18 hours a day. I had really heavy caseload, triple or four times the usual caseload, and we had people dying, and I really never processed that, or never really talked to other physicians, because we somehow, and actually research shows that we are really bad at grieving. And both my parents were physicians, so they didn't model grieving for me either. So I got I really started crying and thinking of the patients that we lost, and how tough things were, how things were not improving but getting worse very often, because the patients could not be visited. They would be delirious, confused, and families could not visit them. Only people in masks and dressed in weird suits. So that was really overwhelming. But at the same time, you couldn't let yourself, to break down in the middle of it, right? And it became particularly difficult after the vaccine became available, and because practically the people who were dying were those who were not vaccinated. And in fact, we had families who were dying because they all decided not to be vaccinated. And some of them had, and so I started talking to Aleksandra about all that loss and all that and helplessness, and also anger. Then I started crying. Also, I was in the position of trying to address staff's burnout too, right? So, and there was also tension there, because for some staff it was hard to not express their anger about people who are not vaccinating, and we cannot be, we need to treat everybody equally, but at the same time we have all our own feelings, and that was really difficult, So on one hand, not to break down and crying, and in fact, I had more staff to admit to their anger, to admit to their sadness and crying, than to admit to their anger um, at some of the patients. So yeah, so that was. So, and then Aleksandra offered only me the empathy, and I think, and I'm surprised that just empathy was such a huge process for me. And earlier I met with Rhonda too, who primarily offered me a lot of empathy, and again I was able to discover things. Yes, that is what happens when you can really dig much deeper into what is what things that you have never expressed and you are not aware that you are carrying with you, or you might have resolved them on paper before, but really not have made part of your life. So I think that empathy is here, not just the avenue to discover things, but also to uncover and then transform these things in a healthy way, I hope. So,
Can you summarize that a little bit and empathize with that a little bit, Rhonda?
Sure. I mean, I wasn't taking notes, but I'll just do it as much as I can from memory. Tell me how clear and this is, Mariusz. You started doing your hospital notes at home during COVID, and you were working. You were carrying triple the load, and you were working 16 to 18-hour days, and you experienced a lot of the patients in the hospital dying. Even you said whole families were dying when they weren't getting vaccinated. And you said that you never talk about your grief or your, feelings with other physicians. And you said a general statement that physicians aren't really good about talking about their feelings. And both your parents were physicians and they didn't talk about their feelings. They weren't good at role modeling that. And that, so one day when you were at home recently sharing doing your case notes, and it was after the work that we did, you felt all the tremendous grief of patients dying. And, you work in the oncology field, so you have a lot of patients who I imagine have died. And just the overwhelming grief came up for you. And you called into your wife, Aleksandra, and she came in and was very empathic and loving toward you. And, there are a lot of moments of sadness and anger. And Aleksandra just continued to give you lots of empathy and support. And you were surprised how much better you felt just with the empathy, that you really needed that empathy. And it resonated very strongly with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
thank you, Rhonda. Just there was also one more emotion. It was fear. That was when the COVID started and we really didn't know what is killing people. Breathing the air in the hospital felt scary, or touching anything in the hospital felt scary. So that is why I wanted to see my patients as fast as I could, enter orders, and come home to finish notes. Because my keyboard at home did not feel scary. So yeah, we would wash our clothes every day, everything, shower before really getting into the living area of the house,
So, but Mariusz, the fear that breathing is scary, touching things are scary, doing your work as fast as you can so you can get home, that led you to this. Is this accurate? That led you to the habit or the pattern now where you now doing triple the amount of work, so many patients, and then still coming home to do your case notes, which is kind of where it brings us back to the beginning and, being a perfectionist and working 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day, and how taxing that is on your system, and leading up to you feeling overwhelmed and unhappy because you're missing life.
Yeah, so that was missing life, and at the same time knowing, and so that David helped me realize when that was, I think, pivotal, not pivotal question, but it was really pivotal moment in the session when I said that that we were talking about the sadness, and you, David, noticed that. So what is it missing in your life? And so this is sadness because maybe something is missing in your life, and then I realized that life is missing from my life. It's not.
Yeah.
Of course, it's when I talk about it, I use rational mind, and I have I spend time with kids and stuff, but really it is maybe not enough life in life, and that is really what brought me to tears during the session with you, the first session. And
I wonder, Mariusz, if I have a few questions for you, but I'm wondering if your wife empathized, and then the tears came, and the anger was expressed, and you realized the fear and the exhaustion of working such long hours. I felt that fear myself. Like today, I washed my hands before I went up to put this sweater on, because I mentioned my wife just got tested positive for COVID, and then I put my hand on the hand railings going up and down. That I better wash my hands before I go back into my office. But I'm wondering when Aleksandra empathized and the tears came. We generally think of tears as being a negative experience, but I'm wondering if that was in a way a positive experience for you.
So that has to be that was a conscious decision on my part because of the assignment that I got from you. Because usually I would simply distract myself, or very often I would dismiss it. Come on, I'm pitying myself, making myself a victim of the situation. I mean, I'm in charge of my schedule, so I have ways of talking myself out of that state. However, it is because of the assignment. I said, hey, let's stop. Let me explore this. So I asked Aleksandra, and I think that this interpersonal part of it is very crucial. That it would be hard for me to do it just between me and paper, as it was really in a relationship with the best friend of my life and life partner. We've been together longer than we've been without each other. So she knows me much better than anybody else. But at the same time, I was still not sharing everything like I would. So yeah, so that was, and when there was also fear because at that time there was a lockdown. So we had 4 kids, adults, but living with us because they're college was on break, the university was on break, and they were staying with us. So we didn't want to bring anything either. And so how with you and Melanie now, that is also, I can just when you mentioned that brought the fear that we also had not to bring anything nasty home. So that was I think that was we were washing the scrubs every day, getting new scrubs. And since then I'm actually honoring it, because since then I changed my wardrobe and I'm wearing only scrubs.
Sure. We had a resident in one of my Tuesday training groups at Stanford, and he was a psychiatric resident, but he was somehow doing consultation work in the Stanford Hospital in the medical units, and he was consulting with a patient who I think had terminal cancer and making rounds, and he began to feel very close to this fellow. And then it came time for his rotation to end. So it was his last day of making rounds with these patients, and he knew that his patient was within, maybe a short time, maybe just a few days or something, until he died. And so when in the last session, he explained that he would be going on to another rotation, and kind of said it was nice working with the patient, that he wished the patient well, but he said he got all choked up, and you talked about physicians not showing emotion, so he hid his emotions, and then he went down to the room where they make your notes, you dictate the charts, and started sobbing. And then he came to the Tuesday group that night, and he was kind of ashamed that he'd been crying, and asked if he did the right thing, to kind of hide his feelings from the patient. And I told him that I think it would be quite appropriate for him to show his tears to that patient, the tears of warmth and caring. And I know for me, it's kind of hard for me to cry sometimes, most of the time. And when I do, I'm pretty grateful. This morning, I was just working with a colleague, Teresa, on the app, and she mentioned something. We got to talking about poetry, and I mentioned that I'd written this poem in college that when I had a fever, actually, and it was for a last-minute assignment for a class. And I was on a bus going back to Amherst, and I had gotten the flu. On spring break, I was staying with a friend in New York, and I remembered I had this assignment, so I just scribbled on a piece of paper a bunch of words, and I had to turn it in to this creative writing class I was in. I didn't even know what it had to do with. And then the professor reproduced it and distributed it in the class, and everybody really liked it. I guess I was so feverish, I wasn't trying to do anything in particular. And then one of the students said, well, this is about Emily Dickinson. And I hadn't realized that when I wrote it, because I used to visit her house sometimes and her grave sometimes at Amherst. That's where she lived her life. And she had such a sad life. And eventually the poem was published in a book called Emily Dickinson, Letters from the World, because she had a poem, This is My Letter to the World That Never Wrote to Me. And she had the saddest life. And so I was really proud when that my poem was published in that anthology of poems for Emily Dickinson. Poets said, "Here's my letter for you," even though you didn't get it when you were alive. And then one of the PsyD students found a book with my poem in it and asked me if I'd come and read it to people from his class or something and bring my family. And I brought it. And I just started crying every time I tried to read. They wanted me to read the poem, and they were doing a video of it. I kept crying every time I read the poem because I thought about the sadness of her life and the real meaning behind her poetry. And I've just it sounds kind of trivial, but whenever tears come to me and I'm talking about a patient who recovered or sometimes I'll get tearful, and to me, I'm always so grateful to have tears, and it's just like in the most beautiful feeling that I think a person can have, to feel that compassion that you were describing for patients who had died. I just think that's amazing that you could experience that and share that with your wife, and I'm wondering if that brought the two of you closer on a deeper level.
Oh yes, that brought us much closer, and I never shared these thoughts and feelings with her before. So that was really tender moment, and the hugging and everything, and yes, and I'm a psychiatrist, but I primarily work with medically ill people. So in our hospital, we don't have psychiatric unit. It is a medical facility, and most of my work is with oncology patients. So. And I know, like in therapy, when they have a transformation and they recover from their fear or the depression, anxiety, that is very, very often I have tears in my eyes with that moment. That is definitely one of the most beautiful things that the person who is suffering may come to freedom of that suffering. I mean, that is I had no, but having, so that is definitely beautiful, and and there is tears and laughter and things like that often combined. And there is one more thing that maybe took over this thing, because we attended our friend who was our age, our friend memorial service just the weekend before, and like last year we had multiple deaths and multiple memorial services, and I think that part, because we saw her just a week, and she was doing fine, and a week before she passed, and we were in 2 weeks maybe, and so I think that after that also brought up this issue of of dealing with loss and not dealing and really not ever dealing with loss. So yeah, so thank you very much, David, and you, Rhonda, because you spent time with me offering empathy and also assignments from me. So thank you.
Well, I feel so close to you, Mariusz, knowing that you have that capacity, and it's so odd that I think we have two beautiful things to offer people. One is, relief from their tears and agony and depression, to feel joy and laughter, and the other thing is to discover the beauty of tears and genuine sadness. I've always felt that sadness without distorted thought, just sadness based on genuine thoughts and true compassion is a form. That sadness is a form of celebration, and is probably the greatest experience that a human being can have. And so I salute you and feel close to you and admire you for for having that capacity in you. And I hope that all of us can have that more. I said, this sounds corny. I talk pretty corny because I'm getting elderly and demented, but I sometimes feel that we go around being closed off a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do, and there's suffering all around us. And I feel like if we opened up, we'd be, kind of crying all day long. But that we'd also be finding miracles happening, perhaps because of our crying and compassion. And that probably sounds psychotic, but
not at all.
No, I follow you very well. I absolutely agree with you. And there's, because if we are carrying it and closed off, it is very lonely. And this loneliness is like additional weight that we carry. But once we start opening up, I think we see, wow, there's other people who are willing to listen.
Yeah.
And particularly team CBT therapists, right?
Yeah.
So then the loneliness is gone, and there's this connection,
right.
interpersonal connection on a much deeper level. As you said, David, maybe you not remember, but it is a quote that I use, that the price we pay for intimacy is vulnerability.
Yeah, right.
So and it is worth the price. So thank you very much for helping me deepen my relationship with my wife and opening myself to my feelings.
It's been such a joy working with you, and I look forward to seeing you again in Warsaw.
Yeah.
And hope everyone who can will attend the World Congress this year in Warsaw, Poland. And we have all the notes in the show notes about that. And I hope because there is so much suffering there, and the Polish people have opened their hearts so much to the people from the war-torn and devastated Ukraine. And I hope there's a wonderful spiritual feeling in your conference again this year. I just wish you the very best, and thank you for giving us a wonderful glimpse into your heart.
Thank you very much, David. And yes, let me just remind people that yes, the conference is March 30th to April 2nd. If you are interested, please go to teamcbt.eu, and all the information is there, and it's going to be held in English and in Polish. So thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Rhonda. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.